Yes. Shubham Shukla.
So,
Okay. Your father is DGM where?
it's a government of India undertaking, Bridge and Roof Company India Limited.
Which company?
Bridge and Roof.
Bridge and Roof.
Yeah, it's a government of India undertaking, mainly deals in the construction sector. Sir.
Central government undertaking.
Yes, sir. Under the Ministry of
Ministry of
Heavy Industries.
Heavy Industries. Okay. You are based in Calcutta.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you did your BE from BITS Pilani.
Yes, sir.
What was the discipline?
So, manufacturing engineering.
Okay. So you have written the subjects in this.
Yes, sir.
Manufacturing. Okay. So you want to pursue this as your career option?
No, sir.
Why?
So, in my college, I was teaching underprivileged kids from the local villages of Pilani and under the NSS program of the Government of India. So, I had this realization that I come from a metropolitan city and to a place where there's almost no amenities, where almost nothing, it's almost like a wild land out there. And I realized a stark difference and I felt that like this is an opportunity for people like us to get into leadership positions, to get into roles where we can impact people on a much larger scale, sir. More than what we could have done as a graduate engineer in working in the manufacturing sector. So this is why I decided to pursue.
Okay. All right. Your subject of political science and international relations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow you will be a bureaucrat. As per requirement of the job, pressure of the job, you have to delegate certain authority, certain powers to your subordinates.
Yes, sir.
So, what are the principles of delegation?
So the key principles of delegation, for the first principle that I would be looking at is the nature of the work that I'm delegating. If it's a work which needs specialists, I'll need to formulate a team which has specialists as such. Or if it is a work of generalists, I can actually allot them to people who are not with any special abilities and such. Then, sir, I would actually need to ensure the strict timelines and proper delineation of tasks. And then I would actually be looking at factors which influence the decision-making process. Like, let's say if there's any decision which might involve a matter of conflict of interest on part of any team member or subordinate, then I'll be keeping that subordinate or that team member out of the task. So these are some outlines which I would actually be.
Okay, but as per political theory,
Yes, sir.
what are the principles of delegation you have to keep in mind? There are certain principles of delegation of power.
Okay, sir. I cannot recall it right now, sir.
Okay. All right. Have you heard of inverted pyramid?
Yes, sir. Clearly.
Tell me.
So, as in,
What's a pyramid? I'm talking of public administration. What is a pyramid?
a pyramid is any given, just in a general perspective, a pyramid is in any given situation under which any profile is wide at the base but gradually narrows down as you move to the top.
Yeah. So what is the inverted pyramid?
Which is narrow at the base and then widens at the top.
Yeah. So people first.
Yes.
All right. So you have interest in international relations.
Yes.
Originally you are from a place, I don't know whether you have visited that place. It is border of Nepal.
Yes.
You are from Motihari. Raxaul is just the border of Nepal.
Yes.
How is the relationship with Nepal?
So India and Nepal have traditionally had a relationship that has spanned over centuries. However, in the modern times, especially since the Indo-Nepal Friendship Treaty of 1950, we have seen the relationship performing not at its optimum level. Like, there have been accusations on both sides of the fence that either country has not lived up to its expectations on the relationship front, sir. Like, there have been multiple issues like the dam issues. Then we feel that as we see the China is the elephant in the room, sir, the China factor, and then the frequent changes in Nepali constitutions which affect the rights of people living in the Tarai belt of UP and Bihar. Sir. So there are contentious issues among the countries. However, we are seeing that the relation between the two countries are improving, and this present decade will hold very critical importance in shaping how the Indo-Nepal relations move forward, sir.
Who are Madhesyas and what is their problem?
Sir, Madhesis are the people of the Terai belt who are on the both sides of the Indo-Nepal border, sir. They are primarily from the border districts of UP Bihar, and some of them have settled in Nepal as well. So they form a relationship or a generational continuity with the people of India and Nepal. So usually Nepal on a demographic front is divided into two types of people, the hill people and the Terai people. Sir. So Madheshis are these Terai people whose concerns are actually being very vocally pronounced by India. So.
Okay. And Nepal also has been demanding certain areas as their own.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, you want me to spell out the areas?
No, not really. Okay. You taught in Akash Institute for a year.
Yes.
How was the experience? What were you teaching?
So, I was a faculty of chemistry for students of NEET and engineering exams.
Okay. So, how was the experience?
It was good, sir. It was a continuation of my work from NSS. In NSS, I was actually involved in teaching two kids of the employees of BITS Pilani, non-staff employees who were actually preparing for their AIEEE, the JEE mains exam. So this was an upgrade on that. So the quality of education afforded to students of a mega city like Kolkata was way better. We had better resources in hand. However, I always felt that there was I had better potential, like I could perform at a better potential, so I quit my jobs.
But your cadre options
Yes, sir.
doesn't follow what you are saying. You have opted for the more developed states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, and not your own state, Bihar or Jharkhand, who are at the low end.
So Uttar Pradesh also stands very high on my preference list.
Yeah.
Sir. But the main reason why I have opted for Maharashtra and Gujarat very high on my preference order are a couple of senior officers that I have followed for quite some time. For example, Manish Gurwani for 2017 batch IAS he's currently the SDM in Kutch, sir. So I have actually followed him. I have been mentored by him, sir. So this one thing. Then there's Vinayak Machaube, sir, ADG at Anti-Corruption Bureau, Mumbai. So he has also been an IPS officer that I have followed. So this is the main reason why. And about West Bengal, so to be very honest, I am very open to serving in any part of the country. However, since the commission has asked us for a priority order, I have given my order, and this is just an order. Wherever the commission sends me to serve, I'll serve with equal responsibility and enthusiasm, sir.
Just to continue with that question, what happened in Kutch very recently? It is in news now. If you're following that officer,
Yes, sir.
you should know about the Kutch region. I'll give you a tip about water.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm unable to recall.
Sir,
Shubham, you are an engineer by qualification.
Yes, sir.
Can you name any three advances in the field of engineering that have made difference?
So one of the biggest advances in the field of engineering has been the invention of the aeroplane, sir, which has actually revolutionized flying technology, and then this has actually led to the development of space frontier and the space race, as we call it, on the aviation sector. The other one would be the inventions or intervention in the field of biotechnology, so bioengineering, so which has actually helped in development of vaccines and has fueled our green revolution in the country, sir. And the third one would be development of new models of renewable energy, so for example solar cells and then wind farms and we call it bioenergy. So these are the three main zones that I feel have revolutionized engineering. So,
You have been part of the anti-ragging committee.
Yes.
What is the status of ragging now? Has it been contained, or it is still prevalent in engineering and medical colleges or other colleges?
So ragging in India is a criminal offence, punishable under the Code of Law. In most of the elite institutions in our country, including BITS Pilani, has achieved a status of zero ragging cases way back in 2013. However, there are very few cases of ragging that have been reported, especially from tier 2 or tier 3 colleges. However, the trend has seen a very significant decline over the years.
How will you define algorithm? Because you have to study computer solve.
So, algorithm is a chart flow or a flow of instructions which map how an activity is to be performed. So,
A problem is solved.
how problem is solved.
What is extended reality? Have you heard of VR, virtual reality?
Yes, sir.
Extended reality is a combination of VR and AR, augmented reality. What is the use of VR in our daily life? How are we going to be benefited by use of VR?
So, on a very traditional front, sir, virtual reality has been used for entertainment, for gaming purposes, sir. And apart from that, sir, virtual reality can also help find importance in, let's say, meetings and discussions like open seminars or from remote seminars. And I'm unaware about any other usage.
What about teaching? With the use of VR, you can teach medical students without physically taking them to operation theatre or something like that.
Yes, sir. This is definitely important. So,
Okay. Have you heard about designer babies? Designer babies?
yes, sir.
What is it?
So, designer babies are children which are produced by specific alteration of their genetic code. So, like, we want to introduce certain specific traits into the baby, so we alter their genetic makeup. So, this is something which has a trend which has actually picked up in the West. However, there are many ethical concerns around it. So,
What are the ethical concerns?
so one key ethical concern would be the principle of like inviolability of a human being. So, like, we are actually fabricating a human being which is against the basic tenets that has been accorded to a human. Like many organizations have actually called for it, like humans taking up the role of gods. Also, sir, this is something that we do not. Genetics is something that we have actually not understood completely. We might induce certain changes in the baby within hope of having some positive changes, but negative externalities can exist. And this can actually come up and the baby might have to suffer because of the misadventure of the parents.
But genetic engineering can be used for good of humankind also.
Definitely, sir.
What is collegium system of appointment of judges? And are you happy with the working of the system?
So when we talk about collegium system of judges, we talk about a system of a couple of very senior judges who appoint other members of the judiciary from amongst themselves. So if I'm not wrong, this system emerged from the third judge's case in 1998. And with regards to the performance of the case, as a couple of political experts have noted, that India is one of the very few countries where the judges appoint themselves. So our constitution under Article 50 talks about like non-interference of executive and judiciary. So this is one of the benefits of the collegium system, that there is no interference of executive or any other organ into appointment of judiciary. However,
should it be modified or should it continue like that?
So in my very humble opinion, I believe that having an examination module just similar to the one conducted by the Union UPSC, this one is to be conducted by the judiciary themselves, would be better in discovering talents without the fear of human factor.
How are you going to appoint the High Court Chief Justice or someone else at the position? You saying that at that age you expect someone to be very good at giving the examination. How will you judge? What sort of questions there can be?
So I'm very novice in this. It's just my suggestion.
You should understand that the collegium system is for appointment of judges and in high courts and supreme courts. You expect them to go through a
Examination, and then they are already serving into a good positions already anyhow.
There is a examination, but for
Judicial exam is already there.
yeah, at a lower level,
Like,
not for judges.
if I may be allowed to give a suggestion, so like a couple of countries, like they have proposed a psychometric test wherein like it's a psychoanalytic test, not psychometric, the psychoanalytic test wherein the psychometric performance as well as an like quantitative performance of their like judicial careers can be plotted, and then optimal matrix could be determined, which would actually help in this like database decision making. So.
Okay. Finally, how popular is kickboxing as compared to other sports?
Yes, sir.
Kickboxing.
So on a ground level, kickboxing isn't very popular because of the very offensive nature of the sport, sir. Like we see people, especially Indians, have a greater inclination towards cricket. To some extent, we have an inclination towards football and other sports. Even in we are talking about combat sports, we have more inclination towards wrestling or karate, which is mildly offensive. But kickboxing is a very highly offensive sport. Though usually at elementary level or an amateur level, kickboxing isn't very prominent. However, there is a Kickboxing Association of India which conducts frequent national championships.
You mentioned flogging also. What is flogging?
So, flogging in its very simplest essence is jogging while you pick up weights. So, it's an activity
which our Prime Minister has also been.
Yes,
Sir.
Shubham, you passed out in 2018.
Yes.
And thereafter you didn't opt for placement, or Akash was your campus placement?
So, I opted for placements. I got placed at an analytics firm. I choose not to join that firm, and I actually thought I might give myself to UPSC prep and everything. So, I went back to my hometown Kolkata, and I joined the Akash Institute, and at the same time I was preparing for UPSC Civil Services.
And now, after 1 year, you have quit that also.
Yes.
What are you doing now?
So currently I'm a full-time aspirant, sir.
Don't you think that you are putting too many eggs into one basket?
I feel, sir, this has been a genuine concern. However, it's a risk that I wanted to take. I absolutely agree with you, sir. Like this is like putting too many eggs in a single basket. Yeah. It's a little risky, sir. So.
Do you have a plan B
So
at this stage?
not as of now, but then I have been appearing at some other examinations, and then I have actually planned on applying to some private firms once the process is over, sir.
You studied engineering, and you have opted for political science.
Yes,
Right? You haven't just. Why didn't you opt for engineering subjects?
So one very basic reason was my course of subject, manufacturing engineering, is not an optional provided by UPSC. And apart from that, sir, my first few attempts I had chemistry as my optional, but I was massively underperforming in it, given the fact that I was just a graduate in engineering who had opted for chemistry, and I was pitted against people who have actually had groundwork in chemistry. So this is the reason why I had to suddenly switch to political science, because it was a subject I felt that I can cover it in a relatively shorter span of time. Plus, it overlapped a lot with my other UPSC compulsory papers. So this was the reason.
Okay, and you mentioned about green revolution. What has been the drawbacks of green revolution?
So, green revolution in India has revolutionized the food and the hunger situation. Like, it has eliminated the hunger situation to a lot of extent. However, there have been a couple of drawbacks. For example, one of the biggest drawbacks of the region was that it has created pockets of development in the country. Like, agriculture today we see is very much pronounced in the western parts of the country, like Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. However, green revolution has not traditionally spread to other areas like UP, Bihar, like Eastern UP, Bihar, West Bengal. Apart from that, sir, we see a dependence on the rice wheat system. And this is of very critical importance.
Has it done anything good or bad for the soil?
Yes, sir. The green revolution has actually had a very detrimental impact on the soil, sir. Like, overexploitation of groundwater has led to soil salinity, and it has also eroded the soil functioning capacity. and this has led to increase in the case of desertification and soil erosion, especially in the regions of Punjab and Haryana, sir.
Has it done any harm to the health of the people?
Sir, I'm unaware about this.
You're not aware?
So nutritional deficiencies can be a reason because we are dependent on.
It has led to a lot of cancer
And
cases.
yeah, sir.
Is it because of the pesticide poisoning?
Yeah.
I'll keep this in mind, sir.
So
There is a cancer train which runs from Punjab to Bikaner in Rajasthan.
and you have given IFS as your third option.
Yes, sir.
Why? You have kept police as your second option.
So it's my.
Whereas as a student of political science, I think you will be more suited for international affairs.
Sir, IFS is a domain which definitely excites me, sir. However, I believe that for any society or any country to progress, it's of utmost importance that the society is stable and there's peace and prosperity. So a precursor of peace in a country like India is policing. And given the fact that we as a country is one which favors order above law, so I think that being in the IPS, I can actually change this trend as the Honorable Supreme Court has pointed out. Law must precede order. So this is something that I believe in, that policing must lead to a good and stable society, and which will actually lead to development to people, sir.
So you can't serve people through IFS?
No, sir. This is absolutely not what I meant. I'm sorry, sir.
No. I'm not denying it. But you only said police is more into serving the society rather than as compared to the IFS and others.
I'm sorry, sir, if I meant that. IFS do have very important place, like given the fact that India's geopolitical
Okay,
profile.
tell us how do they impact the society? How do they benefit our citizens in this country?
I don't know what the IFS, sir.
IFS, yes.
So, given the fact that 21st century is the century of globalization, we see that, and especially for a country like India, whose geopolitical profile is increasing by leaps and bounds,
Please be precise.
we feel that IFS is very important in catering to the needs of the country. For example, very recent crisis would be like the Ukraine crisis, wherein the Indian diplomats are actively involved in negotiating with Russia for cheap oil. So this, if successful, this cheap oil would actually help lower the cost burden on the people of the country, and oil impacts almost every sector of the country, sir. So this is one area. Apart from that, they represent Indian aspirations before the people. They present the Indian point of view. They are the cultural ambassadors. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.